How many of you have had one of those days? You get home and you're so thankful it's over. When in reality, it's just beginning. I had one such Friday. I'd bought some roast chicken on my way home. I just put my feet up. Then my dad called. I don't know about your dads, but when Mr. Kibera calls, it's either constructive information or juicy information. But today was different. He was standing at the accidents and emergencies section of the Nairobi Women's Hospital. They had been unable to resuscitate my sister Violet, and she had been pronounced dead. I don't know if there's a normal way for this to go. Parents should never tell of the death of their children. But this was a different day. My parents lost a daughter, I lost a sibling, and I can't remember what happened to the chicken. Let me let you into my family a little bit. We're 3 sisters. Deborah, aka Elephant, is our social engineer, in charge of all social engagements and edibles. She's a really great cook. Violet was our overseer. She had her finger on everything happening in the family and current status. She would be the one to prompt Deborah that we needed an engagement. My work was administrative: Excel sheets, logistics, payments, and difficult people. We all had our way of doing things, but when we got together on a project, we were the perfect relay team. Everything was handed off with Swiss watch precision. Violet was the perfect mix of sensible and fun. I guess that's why she was in the middle. She was also, as far as I'm concerned, the perfect poster child, perfect poster daughter. Yes. She had an illustrious education, an alumnus of the Kenya High School. She was an accomplished lawyer and company secretary. She'd even gotten married. And she had more chamas than I could count. She even had one called the tea and cake chama. Interestingly enough, whenever we met her sisters, it was always her job to bring cake. Despite all these things happening, she always had time to make sure our family things were in order. She would even run interference when we had turbulence. She was our own Kofi Annan, if you like. Me and Violet had a very good rhythm. In some areas, we were very different. I had none of her social graces. But in some areas, we were very similar. Organized, color code, sheets, ticks. We'd call each other to pick each other's brains on topics from our BSF homework to a handbag we might have seen somewhere. I remember when we planned her wedding, our conversations were always around what needed to move off the to-do list. We even used to set my parents up. They're somewhere in the audience, but they can't beat me now. So when we needed a decision, which we wanted, so Violet would set up the conversation in her amiable, graceful manner. Then they'd hem and haw. Then I'd just come and bully them into a decision. Of course, it was a decision we wanted. Did I mention we liked handbags? Yes. So for her to just up and die was like the biggest crisis ever. What followed were days, weeks, months, and now 2 years of the most interesting roller coaster I've ever been on. The Kübler-Ross model defines grief in 5 phases: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally, acceptance. I'm not sure that you should go through them in that particular order, but I'll let you in on my adventure. So my first stage was denial. It was 5 minutes. Dad said, Violet is dead. Violet who? And I think I had a 3-minute blank space. And then it sunk in. Or rather, I think it did, because that feeling never came back. I think my second stage was acceptance. I called Deborah, but she was wailing so hard, we couldn't have a conversation. So I then called my mother, who I think had discovered the 6th phase of the model. She had become very philosophical. Dainah, we just plants to be plucked. I mean, she was so deep. So, no, not now. I'll pick you up. We'll go to the hospital. I then called Violet's best friend. We had a normal conversation. Hi, how are you? It's December, blah, blah, blah. I can't quite remember how I broke the news, but I remember her bursting into tears on the phone. And then the phone went off, and I cursed. I cursed the one we always curse when the phones go off mid-sentence on Friday afternoons. It's always Friday. So I called her back, and she was still crying. And I started to feel the prickle of a tear. But I'll tell you about my tears later. So we agreed to meet at the hospital. Now I need to get moving. Changed my t-shirt. I grabbed a hat because my hair was bad. Yes, I had time. My hair was bad. We can't go out with bad hair. Keys, hands-free, and one is in the car. I called my best friend. We need to cancel our weekend plans. Violet has died. Meet me at Nairobi Women's. When I got to the hospital, Deborah was already receiving fast mourners, like an usher. Make that chief usher. I walked into the room where Violet's body was still lying. They had put her hands on her chest. I remember putting my hands on top. They were still warm. She looked like she was thinking. I almost expected her to open her eyes and say, "Oh no, Dainah, I forgot the checkbook." Because it hadn't even been 6 hours since we'd had the discussion about meeting up for me to sign some of the leaves. The pulmonary embolism that killed her put an end to that plan. I walked out into the corridor and met a nurse trying to get information out of Violet's husband. I pulled her aside, told her, "Tell me what you need and what we need to do to move this process along." It took us maybe 2-3 hours. We had signed all the papers, we'd called the insurance company, someone had gone to the police station, and we'd even contracted overnight morgue services. And for the week after that, that's how my mind ran. What to do? And tick it off. The following Friday, we laid Violet to rest, overlooking some tea bushes. When the pastor was doing his last rites, my mind started to wander. I started wondering, why haven't we had cake today? But you see, it was always Violet's job to bring cake. So we didn't have cake that day. My next phase was anger. It was anger for people. I'm really an introvert at heart. Really. And for these 7 days, there were just people and more people. I liked some of them. Some of them were okay, I tolerated them. Others, meh. But by the time we buried her, I was ready for some alone time. I'd planned my hermit weekend, I had food, I had movies, and then someone suggested a family lunch. It was the longest lunch ever. And I kept thinking, we've been in each other's faces for 7 days, day in, day out. Don't people want to go home? You don't want to sleep? Why are we, 5 hours? I mean, how much can you suck the marrow out of the chicken bone? Grief, ladies and gentlemen, is a very personal journey. Some people do it with people. Some people would rather go to a monastery that practices silence. Over the next couple of weeks, months, I got more invites for coffee than any pastor or counselor. Everyone wanted to catch up and condole. And it angered me even more for 2 reasons. One, I work in Embakasi. By the time I figure a way to get to you to have coffee, it's like rocket science. 2, as far as I was concerned then, we needed to be getting on with moving. She has died. We've put her to rest. We need to get on with life. Or so I thought. I wasn't ready for the love that was being shown. I'm over that now. If you didn't reach me 2 years ago for a coffee, I am now available. I went through bargaining and depression together. I really negotiated with God. I said, if you let me speak to Violet for 2 minutes, just 2. See, I have a list. We just need to close some things. I promise I'll go for fast service every Sunday. Of course, the conversation has not happened. I have also not made it to fast service every Sunday. But every time I talk to God, I have new things to bargain about. Then you get sad, because you know that's not how it works. Then you get depressed. Then you find something else to bargain. Talking to myself has become the new normal. In fact, now when I need to make a decision, I have the conversation in my head. First in my voice, then in Violet's voice, just to make sure we agree. I'd like to introduce you to another phase of grief, which I have called the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, grief has very bad manners. It is very shameless. It is very rude. It catches you at the most inopportune moment. Remember I told you about my tears earlier? My first tears for Violet came maybe about 3 weeks, 4, after she passed. It was a Saturday afternoon. We're driving through the Nairobi National Park. We were looking at some graceful giraffes, very beautiful. The next thing I know, we have pulled over to a watering hole for me to bawl my eyes out. There was some bemused zebra, antelope, then us. And I was so loud. I mean, I think they were like, they shouldn't let these people in here. Now is when now. Another day I'm driving to work, good morning, good music, and then they play that song we both like. And the tears just come. Now, the tears have to come now. Bad manners. I don't know how long this stage lasts. I've been here for a while. But if they let me come for Engage at 10, I'll let you know. So what's love got to do with grief? Grief is love. And the confusion caused by loving someone who's not there anymore. Grief is such a personal form of love because we all love differently. Grief, like love, is very messy. Sometimes it's all nice and mushy. Sometimes it really sucks. Sometimes you like it. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it catches you in the national park. And sometimes over a slice of cake. For those who are grieving or will grieve, no matter how strangely, remember your grief and your love is as unique as you are. And for friends of those who are grieving, who sometimes, 2 years later, you don't know what to do, show your unique love. You'll never go wrong. Even if it's a cup of coffee 2 years later.